Hi everyone, so I just played the press early access for Vessel Fated for quite a long time, and I want to talk about mercenaries, in particular the bartering option that we have now. I think this is a really cool new feature that Blizzard is introducing here, especially for solo self-found players. It allows you to kind of target the right stuff that you need and get more out of the solo player experience to kind of close the gap a little bit towards groups. Mercenaries are there to help you out in solo play. You can hire a permanent mercenary. They have each of their own perks and their abilities and passives that they provide to you. So generally they strengthen the solo players a little bit to, catch up. But they also have this bartering system here. So you can see this where you can buy certain items and caches from the vendors in this den, which is the hub for all of the mercenary stuff. So that is a really cool feature, and I want to talk more about this because it's relatively important for especially early season strategy to gear up and what to get out of it. So first of all, how do you even get the currency for this stuff? It's called pale marks, and this have these these gray little coins that have like this hand gesture on it. And this is the currency that I use here for the mercenary stuff. You acquire this with like a port track, it's called, that is similar to like the season theme reward tracks that you get from like season 4, season 5, and so on. So you kind of like play with the mercenaries or have them enlisted as a reinforcement, and then they kind of rank up and you get these pale marks, and this is the currency to use for the gambling there. So once in a while you just collect everything that you got from your mercenaries. You can also swap them around. They each have their own tracks, and they also have like an infinitely repeatable like pale marks reward that they can get to basically never run out of this stuff. Blizzard has also said that once a day you can log in and restock the inventory for free on the gambling or on this vendor here. And you can then buy new caches or buy new legendary items. Otherwise, this restock option costs 50 pale marks, which is relatively pricey because if you look at the cost of some of these rewards here, it costs like between 30 to 50 for each of them. And a bunch of the stuff is actually pretty good. So you don't really want to waste too many pale marks on just rerolling, but it might also depend on what you're trying to get. The good thing about this whole system is not so much the individual items, because okay, here and there you might get lucky, you get like a greater affix item that you need. I guess the non-greater affix items you don't really care about. I don't think I'd really go for those like at all. There's kind of like clutter, let's say, and there's also sometimes even yellow items. But the big thing here are these caches, because there's like, for example, utility cache, resource cache, augment cache, and so on, and salvage material cache. There's also, I think, even boss material cache, so you can kind of get everything there, and it's relatively cheap for what you get out of them. And this is really what you are aiming for here. And for example, here, the resource aspect cache, it gives you only jewelry. So first of all, this is pretty nice. You only get rings and amulets, which are some of the hardest items to get in general. And they will all have resource aspects on them. And this is very nice because most of the time, those are by far the hardest to hit. Or for example, maybe in the early game, there can be offensive aspect caches, and you can just try to get those to get like a specific key aspect for your build while you're leveling up. And if you have any of those leftover marks, you can go here and try to get them. Now, some of those caches and rewards actually have to be unlocked. This is part of this rapport track on some of those mercenaries. They each kind of like augment the vendor after you reach a certain rank of them. So there's like a permanent upgrade to the vendor, and every time you restock from that point on, you will have the chance at least to get one of those caches. So each of those mercenaries has a certain affinity with one of these aspect types. So for example, Altkin is for the resource aspects, Mariana for the offensive, I believe, and then I think Subu for the utility, and I think there's defensive from Rahir or so. So as you upgrade them, first of all, you unlock their skills, and then you unlock these vendor upgrades, and then you just unlock pale marks all the time to actually use the vendor. But you see here, in my case, for example, I've been playing with those mercenaries for a while, and I have like 1150 pale marks. You can put this here in your inventory to actually check how many you got. And since the restock is only 50, and then like a cache is like somewhere between 30 to 50, you can actually get quite a lot here. See here, we fast forward just a little bit. I have like 10, 12 of those caches, and you just open everything, and there's just like a bunch of items that pop out. And if you go for example, only resource aspects, you will get a lot of jewelry, you will get a lot of these aspects. that, you know, may also even roll as an ancestral if you're lucky, and you can get like a really good outcome. Now, I wouldn't recommend to just run back here like every 1 hour with like your 100 pay marks and then buy one more thing or so. I'd rather just kind of keep playing, don't really worry about it for a while, and then, you know, stack up 1,000 like I did here or something like that, and then eventually go back and just do it. Or maybe in the very early like season progression on your first character, you just got like a few hundred, I would go and try to use those as soon as you unlock some of those caches. So if you already know that you are starting with a build that, let's say, you play Chain Lightning Sork and you really want the recharging aspect, that is like the main resource aspect for Chain Lightning on the ring, then you might want to go with Altkin, even if you don't really care about leveling Altkin and using the abilities of Altkin or so, but you can at least quickly unlock your resource cache reward from the vendor and then get pale marks, and then try to get exactly that aspect even very early on. This was usually a problem in the past where Blizzard has been introducing more and more aspects every season, diluting the total drop pool, and this means it's very hard to get a specific one that you really want. But this system actually makes it way easier. So in particular for those hard to get and kind of build defining aspects, resource ones and even some offensive ones, I think Druids will really like this as well. For example, for you know, the early leveling, you can get something like a shockwave aspect, you know, or some of the other core skill stuff. All of it cannot be acquired from codex, from any dungeons, so you have to go and find them or use some of those caches. So while leveling, as soon as you unlock the mercenaries, make sure you use them, stack up the pale marks, and then once you have a few hundred, go there, try to get those caches, and overpower your build. In some cases, it could also be worth to check out the individual items here for the aspect that they say, so you can see the names of the aspects. So you see here Rapid and Soil Power and Rapid again. So for example, here we saw like a ring that has Umbral, so this might be something that is very good in your early game. So if you are leveling up, this is something that you can throw into many of those builds, and you see here, this was a 5.0 Umbral, for example. So it is worth to pay attention a little bit to those individual items, just kind of like check the list real quick. Otherwise, mostly get the caches, and that's about it. And that concludes this video already. I will talk about the mercenaries again and how they impact the builds, but this is a bit of like a bigger topic, so I wanted to highlight this part in particular. I think this is really cool, especially for solo self-found enjoyers like me. And I think this will definitely help out a lot of people gearing up. So if you're despairing because you think, oh, you have to find all those aspects and now it's way harder to get them because there's like the higher tiers and whatever, it's actually not that bad, it turns out. I was able to get a lot of aspects just from bartering alone, and that helped me a lot in the early progression. So, hope you enjoyed this little video here. Stay tuned for a lot more expansion content. I've been like recording all day. There's gonna be a lot of stuff coming very soon. Also, of course, the Maxwell guides that we're gonna pump out in the next coming days. There's gonna be a lot of new build guides for Season 6, a lot of Spiritborn stuff that I'm working on, and let's hope everyone has a lot of fun in the expansion. Hope you liked this video, and see you guys next time.